Welcome to Dave Cooper Live, where we showcase the people and the products helping us build it better. And today we continue to ask, are you ready to maximize your prefab opportunity? This main contractor based in Hull, England, did just that when they introduced offsite manufacturing into their on-site practice so that they could better manage the whole process from design and build to on-site installation and aftercare. Building with a light gauge steel frame system from 1 to 6 stories and adopting the other forms of construction to suit individual project drivers, this award-winning company embraces SpaceX thinking and delivers award-winning projects. So please give 2 thumbs up and smash that subscribe button as we welcome Ryan Geldard, Operations Director, MAR. But first, we have to give a big shout out to Forward Solutions Group and Howick Ltd for helping us deliver all of these awesome conversations. So Forward Solutions Group is successfully driving companies to succeed where others have failed. Learn more about Forward's recent acquisition of Moducore and ERP Solution for offsite manufacturing. Contact Ben Hershey to learn more. Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. And also, thank you to Howick Ltd. Howick has a long history of innovation in cold form steel manufacturing and produces innovative precision roll forming technology for customers throughout the U.S. and the world. You got to check out an invite only to their Steel Horizons event happening in London, June 23rd. You want to go see this? We're going to be there. Dave Cooper Live will be in London the week of June 18th. Learn more at www.steelhorizons.com. We hope to see you there. All right, without further ado, let's hop into this conversation and let's bring Ryan in. Ryan, how you doing?
Oh, fantastic, Dave. Great to be with you. Great. And hello to everybody who's tuning in as well.
Yeah, for sure. So it's going to be a great conversation. Ryan, we love to hear what other people are doing across the pond. We're going to be in England in a couple weeks, so this all just feels right. But you guys are taking offsite construction in the process from start to finish to a whole new level. And that's what we're going to jump into. But first, we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Ryan, don't leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or we will have your mother come on the show. And I know you know that'll probably be embarrassing, but you only have 2 minutes to do it. The floor is yours.
Perfect, Dave. So I guess compared to many people in the industry, I've not really been around on the planet that long. I was born in '88, so I'm 33 and kind of grew up with a construction family. My father now works with me, but at the time he had his own construction businesses doing civil engineering and groundworks. So I kind of grew up around construction, which I absolutely loved, and I got the bug for quite quickly as a young toddler, sat on my dad's knee in an excavator, and over time then really wanted to realise getting a good education. So I went to a building college in our town, and then I set out to work with a local contractor in site management and construction management, away from my dad at the time, as you can imagine, a young teenage guy and a guy who is a lot more kind of construction experienced. That relationship didn't work out as well as it did when I was tiny. But yeah, and then ended up really with my biggest grounding was working for a big general contractor who is an international player, and was very, very fortunate there. And I say this every time I speak to anybody, to work with what was the best team in the region, delivering some of the best projects. And I had some fantastic mentorship there. I was sponsored through university, where I did an undergraduate degree in construction management. And as I was at a company called BAM, I got a real bug and a real kind of passion for offsite construction as a way to improve productivity on construction sites and to look at the process, to improve it. And then I kind of reached a really nice level with BAM, and I absolutely loved working there, but I wanted to move on and really test myself in smaller businesses. Spent a year then with a passive house builder who had a closed panel timber system. Working with them, they were setting up a factory at the time in Yorkshire and doing really amazing projects, which at the time, 5 years ago, were really pushing the boundaries of environmental efficiency within the builds. And then I took another move again into where I am now. So 5 years ago, I joined MAR, which was at the time was a smaller business that was doing higher projects and bits of modular. And really from there, we've not looked back to a point now where I'm very fortunate to sit with the shareholders on their board and drive the business on a day-to-day basis.
I love it. I love it. So 33 years old. Is that your current age, Ryan?
I know I look older, Dave, but yes, I am 33. And as you say, I think that's we've got a very young management team within our business, albeit we know the value of good experience. So we've brought in a lot of amazing people who have ridden the wave of offsite construction for many years, know its pros and cons, and really got a really good blend of people that are construction orientated and manufacturing.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I bring up the age for a simple fact is we need new minds in this industry. We need younger minds in this industry, not only to think differently, but also to inspire younger generation to get into this industry. And you're all of that and everything you're doing. Tell us a little bit about MAR. Like, where's your focus? And then we'll hop into the rest of this conversation.
Well, our focus at MAR is about delivering really good projects for clients. And we believe that construction is the need of a solution, whether that's an on-site or an off-site solution. We work across a whole different range of sectors, but where we've seen the most growth in the last few years has undoubtedly been in the residential market. And what we've got now is a product offering which can be easily adapted to suit a residential project. And a very similar, but a variance on the system can be delivered for schools or hospitals or commercial builds. So we've got a real wide range of industries and market sectors that we work with to ultimately drive the efficiencies in the factory. But yeah, we see ourselves as a solution provider first and foremost.
Yeah, and you definitely are that. So one of the things that we were talking about and what's going to make this show so interesting is you came into this space and you saw all the bits and pieces of how it can go wrong from design all the way to the finished product. You mentioned removing the friction as one of your biggest focus. So what exactly does removing the friction mean to you?
Well, ultimately, what we see and what I saw coming from the construction world was that clients were very specific about how we are to contract in the UK. There's suites of contracts, and clients really want to take a design and build problem and give that to a general contractor who will then deliver out the solution. In modular, particularly in the UK, there's a lot of manufacturers who are really keen to focus on just their bit of the product, and they want to sell most of the superstructure of the build. And really, they don't really want to be involved significantly with the general contracting, main contracting risk items like civil engineering and a lot of the wider design. So when we talk about removing friction, what we're looking at is how can we provide a service offering which is as closely mapped to what the clients are expecting and are used to. So we're not trying to change everything. We're not trying to change the entire procurement process. We're trying to change the entire design process. What we're saying to clients is we can deliver you a really fantastic project, but on the basis that we work together to design it together, and ultimately we'll take the responsibility for all of the construction work. And that's been something that's really fueled our growth over the last few years.
Well, it's such a big deal, right? There's no passing the buck. So you're working on the design side, you're controlling it all the way through manufacturing, then you're controlling it through the site work, and we'll get into that in a moment, through the delivery of the end product to the client. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. The design work is we take a project and we look at it as where we can as to what's the best building technology to use, and there's lots of different variables. And we want to have that one-stop solution where if, for example, we hit a problem in the ground conditions, we are blessed in England with lots of historical artifacts. If we dig up a Roman chariot, then we want hands on the levers to turn off the site works and turn off the manufacturing and vice versa. So by encapsulating the process, whilst it may seem to the outside world that we're taking on a lot of undue risk, actually there's some real big opportunities and benefits from doing that. And ultimately what clients are getting there is a more coherent delivery. A lot of our clients talk about, we don't want to place an order with a ground worker, and we don't want to place an order with manufacturer and have problems with tolerance issues and with design responsibilities. And the way that we approach things is to try and encapsulate as much of that as possible for them.
Right. So you guys are doing the offsite construction as well as the on-site construction collectively together, so the client doesn't have to worry about any of that. And I'm curious, have you found any gold chariots?
No, but a few weeks ago, we found World War II air raid shelters on a project in London, which we did our best to try and find during the pre-construction phase. And wherever we must have sunk the test holes, we didn't find them. Lo and behold, we started excavating the site and they were there. So quite cool in one respect, but naturally then it's about how we can now get a solution, an engineered solution that gets us back on program, aligns with the factory behind me, so that we can get all the product out to site. So as those foundations are finishing, the modular project is going on top and the client doesn't suffer a delay.
Wow, how cool is that? Was there any artifacts inside of the shelters?
Oh, I don't think so. A lot of the air raid shelters ended up being pots for people to go and do weird and wonderful things in. So I'm sure there'll have been some teenagers talking or something like that over the years.
That's more of a conversation for the pub when we come over, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. You don't want to know what goes in old air raid shelters.
Got it. All right, listen, everybody, if you are joining us, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. So get your tweets on. And if you're not following us on YouTube, please go there and follow us. Hit that subscribe and ring that bell so it tells you when we are live or notifies you of a video that you may have missed. And if you are not following Ryan and his team, you're wrong. Tell them, Ryan, if they're not following you, they're wrong. You got to follow Ryan and his team at MAR and see what they're doing. So, Ryan, let's get into the market of offsite construction. How do you see the market going?
You know, for me to step out of this main contracting world 5 years ago, I couldn't have imagined, you know, that we're now in a position in this market where it's growing at such a rate. And my only hope really is that people like us can answer the promise, which is, you know, we've been asking for, you know, demand to be met. And now it's for us really to step up and deliver capacity and to deliver what the promise of better construction projects. But the UK, as you know, we've got some, you know, some government support to varying levels, a lot of government discussions with their Homes England, which are really pushing and promoting residential modular construction because of our productivity issues in the UK and skill shortages. But what we're also seeing is other government departments from the Ministry of Defence and the Department for Education all really getting behind offsite construction for the benefits that they can see what our industry does best.
Yeah. And with that said, you know, you guys are at capacity. Talk us through that a little bit, because you have your own manufacturing facility. You do on-site, you do the off-site work, and you manufacture. What is production capacity for you guys?
Yeah, so we've got, we still talking in imperial terms sometimes, I don't know why. We've got a 100,000 square foot factory here in Yorkshire, in the northeast of England. That can do around 20,000 square meters. I'm flipping it to the other way now. This is back to metric worth of product a year. Obviously, the more bespoke the product, the less the production, and often the more expensive the products are. But we've got a sizable factory here now, which we moved into about 18 months ago. So pandemic times, this factory that we were in had another modular contractor in who decided to kind of reduce their size and presence. So it was a nice, almost ready-made nest for us that we could then develop ourselves. But ultimately, we've got our biggest capacity issue, given to the size that we've got and the growth we've had, is effectively having enough really clever people to help us get the pre-construction work through, get it designed. So that's really where our capacity limitations are at this moment in time. Shoot forward a few more years, if we continue with a fair wind and we keep delivering good projects, we will be looking for other facilities. But at this moment in time, we're kind of limited by by our own size and our own firepower financially, because we are self-funded and we are independent. We've not got big kind of banking and private equity businesses behind us. So yeah, and it sharpens the mind that in terms of the economies and wanting to make sure that we're really looking after the pennies to look after the pounds.
And you guys do only steel frame, cold form steel?
Yeah, pretty much. So we have two systems, particularly for housing. We have one that's almost entirely light gauge, which uses a Howick profile, and is, it's a really fantastic system. It's line loaded, so it's really useful for the low rise projects that we have. Particularly useful as well from an embodied carbon perspective, and that's a really, really fantastic product, and that's all accredited. And then we have another product which is a very traditional, almost post and beam system that has cold rolled wall infills. But no, we primarily used light gauge steel and some hot rolled steel. We're not at this moment into timber or concrete or anything else, but naturally on a project by project basis, some projects do suit other forms of construction, and we are happy to tell clients where that is the case.
Well, and that's the best kind of business you can do as well, right? I mean, that's how we look at it.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of our clients do rely on us to support them, not only to deliver solutions, but to also advise them where volumetric and steel may not necessarily be the right product. And ultimately, those clients then ultimately do come back and talk to us again about future projects. Not everything needs to be pushed through a volumetric solution.
Well, I mean, we're there, so why don't we talk about this? I'm going to skip around a little bit today, but on-site versus off-site, which is better in your mind? I mean, this is a big question, and this is an area where a lot of developers, investment people, looking to enter our space don't know how to quantify it, and usually it does not work in the favor of off-site to begin with.
Yeah, I do think it is very much dependent on the drivers for clients. Where what we see at the moment, being very, very open and honest, is that our volumetric modular solution per square meter, if you're looking at only at the superstructure costs, is more expensive than a traditional steel frame, but it's got lots of advantages that go beyond the kind of on-site traditional steel frame and concrete. The reality is that what we like to do is really appraise each project and on its own merits. And we have projects where it's hybrid, so it's got some reinforced concrete frame with modules sitting on top. We have some projects that are half steel frame and half volumetric, because it maybe suits the project type. We've had a project just recently which has HV rooms and battery storage for electric batteries, and doing that in a volumetric way was just a bit nonsensical from a economy or a properties perspective. So we did that out of concrete and masonry, and then on the other side we did the volumetric. So I think the question really is, what are the drivers from the client, what's the drivers for the project, and ultimately then you map your best build methodology to it, and out of that will come the best program, the best economy of scale, and the best quality of finish. And we're absolutely confident that our volumetric approach versus traditional, even when we do traditional, volumetric always has that edge on quality and control and certainty.
Well, of course it does. It's done in a controlled environment in a factory with precision machines. Sorry, I get excited. It is, there's no way, but that's the hard part to quantify, isn't it, Ryan? Like, yeah, cost sheet, it may look more expensive, but the overall maintenance of that building, the headaches that you deal with on site, the longevity of that building in a lot of instances is going to be much longer and a much more secure future, and more energy efficient as well.
Absolutely, Dave, and you've hit the nail on the head there. When we talk about whole life cycle assessments of cost and challenge, what we're trying to get our clients and customers to understand a bit more, and they have their own constraints. They're tied to traditional build rates that have been there forever, very transparent ways of assessing cost, because it's in documents and it's in textbooks. And we come along and we're a little bit more expensive, but we're saying, well, we will deliver less defects and we will deliver higher quality products. And if we say we're going to give you a really good air test, we'll beat the contractual requirements of the air test. And just getting people to truly understand that
right.
there is a wider view. And I think the carbon agenda in the UK is starting to push a lot of these comments and discussions earlier as well, which is helping.
Yeah, well, it should help. And again, that's that whole life cycle conversation. So, all right, listen, when we come back, 'cause we're going to go to some comments right quick. We're going to talk about standardization and what does it mean. And then we're going to talk about building to scale to wrap this up. So if you have any questions for Ryan, go ahead and put them in the comment section. But let's go there now and let's just see who is stalking us today on the Dave Cooper Live show. Hey, we got Ben Hershey. Hey, what's happening, Ben? What's Ben say here? Thank you for bringing this valuable information to the Offsite Manufacturing folks. Great to hear how a builder took control of the process. Hashtag build it better. That's it. Ben is also one of our sponsors, Forward Solutions Group, and they work all around the world. In fact, Ryan, you should know Ben Hershey for sure. Highly recommend you two talk someday soon. All right. Incredible what you're achieving at 33, Ryan. I love that. And the comment from the chat doesn't come up, but I do know who this is because I saw Jen. Maybe, Jen, you can put the name of that person in there. I don't have it showing up for whatever reason, so my apologies there. But we will come to that. All right. Moving forward, Henry Mickelberg in the house. Gotta love Henry. It's quite annoying that it's taken me 20 years longer to understand the industry like Ryan does. I think he just...
These are all very flattering. I'm not sure I'm there yet.
I think Henry just admitted defeat in something.
No. I mean, this is the thing. People like Henry and all the people who kind of are on your show, Dave, we all learn from each other, don't we? And
yeah, we do.
I really appreciate the sentiment there, Henry, but I've got a long way to go yet. We're always learning.
Well, appreciate you, Henry. As always appreciate Henry. Hopefully we'll get to see you when we come over to England as well. Andy Smith says, simple answer, and he caught himself spelling simple wrong and corrected himself, so I won't throw you under the bus. Andy, he said, but must be designed for MMC at an early stage, not as an afterthought. He's absolutely right. We're going to get into the design concept on this when we come back, because I think people really need to understand, Ryan, your process and why it's different than others that are doing it out there. And we'll get to that in just a bit. All right. We got Frederick Lauer. How much connection things together or sub-modules together is critical to achieve real offsite efficient solution?
Ooh,
interesting question, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Frederick. So I think from my perspective, again, it does depend project-wise. Now, what we try to do, and I'm trying to think of an answer for you here. What we try to do is we do an assessment of how many modules make up a building. Now, there's a bit of a fallacy pushed around that actually it's transportation costs that drive that. Well, what we want to really do, as part of our solution is maximize the module widths, lengths, and heights, because I'd rather pay a few pounds extra to get people, with escort vehicles up and down the country. So provided we can get and analyze what the module widths and heights and lengths are, and we can get them to site, we've done all that survey, we want to maximize the number of modules so that we're actually manufacturing less, because the more modules, the longer it takes in the production line, the longer it takes the production line, the more overhead is attached to the price. But again, it's really important to kind of drive that so you get the economies right. And that's how we do it really in our business.
Yeah. And I go to that. I'm going to add to that, Frederic, and let us know where you're from, what you do. We'd love to know. But the reality of it is how many connections is critical to achieve a real offsite efficient solution? And I guess it depends on what you're trying to achieve. There's many ways to put that, right? If you're looking for a true system of, volumetric build like Ryan does, that's one offsite method of construction versus a panelized method of construction that has a different connection and put together process. So, I mean, that's a loaded question no matter how you look at it. I think it's a matter of what you're trying to achieve. But in my opinion, true offsite efficiency versus components like a wall system, a true offsite system is going to be kind of like what you're doing, Ryan. Volumetric is the way I see it, for sure. All right. Henry Nicola, a lesson to all the salesmen, women, he, her, they, just demonstrate the facts. Got it. All right. Hey, we got Damien in the house. What's happening, Damien? Onsite versus offsite, a balance of both. Please work really well from experience. He's absolutely right. Definitely. And Frederick says, thank you. So it is fair to say that quick assembly with high performance could help. Yes.
Always.
Yeah, love it. All right, let's get back to the conversation here. We got about 10 more minutes. So we got a lot to get through, Ryan. We got to pick your brain now. Now's when the tough questions are going to come out on how we do this. Let's talk about it. Standardization, what does it mean? You alluded to it earlier when you mentioned, well, a bespoke product takes longer than, one that isn't bespoke. So why don't you talk us through what standardization means to MAR, but also how are you doing it?
Yeah, it's a good one. So standardization to us is very much around how we look at the components that go into a building, more than it is prescribing a floor plate or a design, or finishes particularly. We just think that the world and our clients demand that more flexibility. So we are very, very careful. We've spent a lot of time developing products. And when I say that, I don't mean sat always just at a desk and running calculations, but actually building things and then testing and measuring those over time, for how they perform during manufacture, construction, and into aftercare, collecting all that data so that we can really understand, where we can save things. So what we're always trying to do with the project is look at how can we break this need and this solution down into components and standards which can be easily repeated within the process for that project on the factory floor. How does it tie into our wider systems in terms of our internal business processes, and actually then try and standardize then what our offering is around that. So we're always trying to use the same components. We're trying to standardize wherever possible the mechanical and electrical by using the same people that we've used consistently, who are often contractors who work with us on a supply chain basis. And effectively, it's about just maximizing all the things that we've already done the thinking on. And the more that we can do that, the better,
Right.
really.
Yeah, and there's so many options with standardization. People just don't think of it that way. And I truly believe once people understand how many options they're going to have if we simplify the process of delivering our buildings, our homes, multifamily, commercial, whatever it is, that's really when this is gonna start taking off. What are you guys using to manage your process system wise?
So we use a piece of software called Autodesk 360 Build, which is helping us really get our processes slick in terms of the quality processes. But what I think we do a bit differently to others maybe is we work through a TACT plan, so lean construction with all the modules identified, and we give really clear, specific instructions to our work team so that they know which part of the process they're working on day to day, what we expect. Then we're able to track then our production capacity on an hourly basis. So we know if we've fallen behind, we can look at our module outputs and how that's going to affect us down the line. So yeah, we're using software on the shop floor, we're using lean construction TAP planning, and in the design office then we're using software that you'd expect to find in most places. So we use Revit within our software, and we also employ TDS, who you've had before, Dan Leach and his team, as well as a company called Modularize, external consultants who've all then got Tekla detailing equipment. That all gets us to the next level of fabrication design. So again, it's that collaboration of different things, different people, different methods to get us to where we've got.
Sure. Now, just so I'm clear, at MAR, are you working with multiple different people, or is all the projects what you own and operate?
So we're a contractor, so we will work for many different people. What we try to do though is work with the same clients on multiple projects. So we've done quite a lot of work with particular London boroughs, councils, and government spend, where we're now onto 3 or 4 projects with them. We're onto 3 or 4 projects with the housing association, where we've really refined the product with them. So whilst we will work for anybody, what we like to do is do the repeat business, and then the client gets the benefit of the learning, we get the benefit of the learning, and over time we're able to demonstrate that our performance and our economy is improving. So yeah, that's kind of how we work. Maybe in the future we'd like to do some of our own developments, but at this moment in time we don't want to bite off too much more than we can chew. We want to get really good at being a contractor and a manufacturer, making that work really well.
For sure. So collaboration and information sharing is something that's super important for this whole life cycle. Can you talk to us a little bit about who you're working with, from designers, mechanicals to the clients? What would be your typical client? Who are the stakeholders? There you go, that Jen put up on the screen.
Yeah, so a lot of the stakeholders from a client perspective are people that have got a real need for an offsite solution. So a lot of people are driven to look for an offsite solution because their funding is determined by funders or government funds that require that solution, which has really driven the demand up. We've also got a lot of new clients and customers who need certainty, so they want to invest in a product where if we say it's going to be completed in September, then they know they can forecast their operations for September. And that's really important to people, particularly people who are like in restaurant chains and other things. And we do a lot of work with schools, where schools have a deadline of academic years. And it's so important that we work hard to get close to that. Within the kind of wider kind of collaboration sect, we work with the same designers wherever we possibly can to build a good rapport, where we want to work as equals and listen to the fact that we don't always get it right. And we work really closely with some good people in that regard. Yeah. And same with the subcontractors that we use as well, that we bring into the factory. There's so much, knowledge that is lost in construction and in manufacturing. So the more you can work with people consistently, the better things are.
Collaboration, information sharing. I mean, we only have one way to go in this industry, and that is up. So I think people should be sharing everything they have with each other to grow this industry and take it to the next level, not only for us, but for the future of, the inhabitants and affordability and all those fun things. All right, let's get to a couple more comments, questions here real quick. All right, Daniel Leach, why do you think there have been some high-profile failures in offsite this year?
Because it's really tough. Let's be absolutely honest. It's a very difficult industry to work within its construction anyway, in terms of its turnover of companies on the broadest possible level. Modular and offsite manufacturing requires a massive capital input and a big overhead to manage, and some people are not as nimble and able and agile to overcome that. I think the industry is quite poorly capitalised in some areas, and that's an important thing that we need to bear in mind as well. And I do think there's a lot of people who've, sometimes overshot their capabilities and then have got into some hot water, maybe pushing product out that's not been fully detailed or tested, because there is always a big driver at getting things in the factory and getting the tills ringing of revenue. Right. So yeah, I think we can't focus too heavily on the failures as much as some of the successes, because we're seeing really big success in a lot of areas. And we are seeing, for every one person who falls by the wayside, there's 2, 3, 4 new starters or businesses that are getting invested into. And I think we should focus on the positives as well.
Well, and that's it, right? I mean, in the opening monologue, we talked about, SpaceX, right? How many times when SpaceX started did that ship go up and crash back down as they were trying new things? Yeah. It's tough. But once you get it dialed in, it's dialed in.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're the businesses that persevere. And like we've said, we're doing what we can, and we're trying to learn as we go. And as you say, bring forward the people with the right experience to help us along our way. And that, as a business, is as you say, getting that dialed in and getting really good at something is what we're really pushing and working to find.
That's right. All right, here's a comment. Let's just put it up. Gregory Laha, how are you doing, Greg? Good to see you. The GCI HSC could help with what he is trying to do economically as well. So we appreciate that comment and where it fits in the conversation. All right, and now let's get to this comment. This LinkedIn user is Ellie George. Ellie, thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry, it doesn't pop up on the screen I'm using here, but I've been informed that's who's doing this. So Ellie had a question. Ryan, you mentioned about hybrid delivery. Can you foresee a time where you'll be delivering hybrid volumetric and panelized, for example, MEP rooms as volumetric and then panels to the outside? P.S. It was me, Ellie George, with the comment. There you go, about the comment about you achieving 33. I love that. It was me, Ellie George. Ellie, we do appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching and joining us today. What's your thoughts on this one, Ryan?
Do you know, it's something I have thought a lot about, actually. So thank you for that question, Ellie, and for your comments as well. Do you know, if I had a blank slate, the pods and panels route works really nice, and I'm seeing a lot of new starters coming into the industry who are focusing on the need for volumetric, where there's lots of trades laying over the top of each other in bathrooms and kitchens and MEP, little plant rooms in homes, and then building light gauge panels around it. And I think that's a really viable model. And as I said, if I was starting from scratch, I think that'd be something that we'd be exploring. So yes, I could imagine a world where we'll invest a little bit into that to learn and support some of the new starters who are coming in, because effectively all we're doing is disassembling elements of our volumetric system. We've got the connections right, we've got the supply chain, but I do think that's going to be, it's almost between where we are today of traditional construction being the mainstream and volumetric being a good method. That's a real halfway house. And we mentioned earlier about finding products that work towards what the market wants and needs. Well, I see that as a stepping stone along the way and bridges the gap between the two worlds, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. Just wanted to acknowledge Ellie. Thank you. We always love when new people join the show and join the conversation. So quick shout out. If you guys are all out there, make sure you go check out and see what Ellie George does. We definitely could use more women in this industry moving forward. So, all right. With that said, Ryan, we are about out of time here. What have we missed? What have I not asked you? What do you wish everybody knew about MAR or Ryan?
Well, I suppose the only thing that we've not talked about really is the wider collaboration piece. So, one thing that we absolutely adore is working with people from all corners of the world. We don't know everything. We don't profess to know everything. And it's been amazing, really, as we've opened ourselves up to collaboration, how much good stuff's come of it. So, yeah, it's something that I'm really proud of, and it's something that I want to do more of with other manufacturers and other stakeholders who have got an interest in our type of industry. And yeah, long may that continue. And fair play to you, Dave, for bringing these types of conversations together and widening all our audience to those types of collaborative discussions. So thank you for that.
That's right. We got to collaborate more. We need to definitely talk more, and that's what the show's all about. Bringing people that are building it better forward, so the rest of us can all work together and try new things. So I absolutely love it. All right, a couple more comments, and we're going to call it a wrap here. Andy Smith, 100% agree with the comment about the overstretch. It's a great industry, but need aggregated demand for maximizing factory efficiency. Appreciate the comment, Andy. And Frederick, I will happy to get a contact for your potential collaboration. That's what it's Absolutely. About, Frederick. Appreciate that as well. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We always love everything we're doing here. And we also, Factory Day, June 9th. You didn't mention Factory Day. That's just as important as collaboration.
That's it. That's tomorrow. Yeah, so we're very lucky to have 50 people or ish registered to come and see us at our factory open day. So yeah, thanks for helping us plug that. And I'll be posting photographs and videos on LinkedIn tomorrow.
Yeah, and we're talking about the factory, right? Tell everybody where it's at real quick.
Yeah, so our factory is based on the outskirts of Hull. It's a good 45 minutes drive from Leeds. But yeah, we've got an amazing event on tomorrow. We've not had a chance through COVID to really celebrate the opening of our factory. So yes, tomorrow's about that, and also introducing people who've never been around a modular factory to what we do and the benefits of offsite to the world. So yeah, really looking forward to that one, and thank you for helping me plug that.
Yeah. Hey, listen, that's what it's all about. You're building it better. People can go see what you're doing there. And hopefully when we're in England, we can come by and see that if time allows us to do all these wonderful things. So, and maybe I'll find you a golden chariot. That would be cool. All right. Listen, everybody, that's a wrap for today. We appreciate Ryan being on the show. For the rest of you, we will be live this Friday, 1 p.m. with my good friend, Mark Bare Naked Willie. Do not miss it. 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. I'm Dave Cooper. Ryan Geldard from MAR. Thank you, Ryan. Stay right there. We'll come back to you after the outro. And everybody else out there, have an awesome Wednesday. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.